All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream for today. Welcome to the Fivers Futures Live. I'm Dave, your host, and today is going to be another fun and exciting one. I see we got Game Show 360 in the house. Good morning. Bon dia to you as well. Should I say you're watching us from Brazil? Let me know where you're watching us from. We hope this one's going to be another fun and exciting one. Let me know what you're trading. Let me know how your week has been going. Yesterday, we had a very critical day. We had the Fed meeting going on. Things remain unchanged. So we've seen the market reaction. We've seen the market continue to push higher after a very small pullback. Today we are going to see what we can get into. We are still trading those all-time highs. So like I say, we need to have strong opinions lightly held. I know some people have a tendency to want to possibly short those all-time highs, but that is not always recommended. You have to do so with caution, especially if you're going to hold overnight positions. But here on stream, we try to take the trades live. We try to show you our entries, how we manage the trades during the trade, and how we exit everything on stream. And we try to give you the best advice we can. All right. We got Guru 3463. Welcome. All right. We got Brazil in the house. Awesome. Very happy to hear that. Actually, I haven't visited Brazil. I've been around quite a few countries, but I haven't been to Brazil yet. So looking forward to that eventually. And I know we have many Brazilians with the Fivers. We have our own Fiverr mentor called Pedro over on the FX side. That's a super awesome, great trader. So awesome. Happy to have Brazil in the house. Let me know where else you're watching us from. And we're going to run through everything today. Actually, today I'm going to do my planning with you guys since I'll be broadcasting alone today. So we'll have more time to kind of go things, with each other. So as usual, we're going to start with the indexes, the indices, and then we'll migrate to gold and check out oil and be ready for these markets. So we have about 30 minutes to get ready. We're going to run through these very quickly, and then we'll be ready to trade. So as usual, what we do is do a top down and then a bottom up approach for each market. And let me double check. Today's the 30th. We had personal. I just want to check the news. Great thing about Black Arrow is you could have the news right there. I mean, the important news was yesterday on April 29th. We had the Fed interest rate decision here. We stayed at 3.75, so everything remains unchanged. And I think the market read that as bullish. So we continue to push higher. All right, we're going to be looking at the Nasdaq first. Actually, I was in a quick trade here, quick scalp, so we'll let this one run. We'll see. I'm targeting those Asia highs there. So we'll see if that can happen. While this trade is going on, we'll switch to the ES. Let's start with the ES first. And this is a momentum scalp I'm taking, and then we'll go back to it and analyze it. All right, let's go to the ES. There we go. So we'll start from the top. Actually, let me make this bigger so we can all see. So the ES, we can all remember, had a massive run, like all indexes. And remember back in January, February, actually all the way back to October, we were unable to push past that $7,000 level. I've talked about that a lot. I've also mentioned it many times in the weekly newsletter we send out. where we analyze some levels. And finally, we've broken through this level. We stalled a little bit, and that's a daily chart. We stalled a little bit around those 7,100, broke out again, pulled back, and now we're pushing higher. So this is really as bullish as it gets, okay? If we could define this as a range right there, so we'll take this whole area as a range. Let me just make this bigger. So if this is our range, right? Right now, we are definitely trying to break out of that range. So we tried to break out here once, we pull back. This could be considered the 50% area of that range, and we're trying to break higher. So same logic here as the ORB, the opening range breakout setups that I use every day. And we can definitely go and think of those $7,300 levels as the next target, right? So this is what you want to keep in mind. Now, anything can happen. The first target would be those 7,250s, right? Which, if we are truly bullish, we might even reach that today. Let me see. Average move so far is 77 points. So 100 points would be right below there. So that target, that 700 250 more or less, give or take a few points, could be a good target for the ES on the day. Of course, that is if we remain bullish, right? If there's no pullbacks. So we'll see. We're reaching the end of the week, but this to me could be a good possible target. All right. We have Game Show saying, I'm trying to learn English on my own. I'm learning a few words, but I can follow the reasoning. Yes, I know Pedro. I watch his live stream every day. Nice, nice, nice. You wanted to sell after reaching the top and returning. Okay. Well, learning English is a very good idea. I actually want to learn Portuguese. I speak four languages, but I don't speak Portuguese yet. And I can understand a little bit. There's a lot of resemblance between French and Spanish, because I speak French and Spanish. And when I hear people speak Portuguese, I understand a little bit. So good on you to learn English. Maybe you could teach me some Portuguese soon. The only word I know is obrigado. That's it. So I have a lot more to learn. All right, let's dive into these charts. So we just saw the daily chart. So our bias so far is long, right? Again, that's 70-30. That doesn't mean that if we find short setups, we won't take them. But so far, I mean, it's undeniable the strength we've seen in these markets. So let's switch to TradingView for a second. Let me load up the TradingView here. Let's go to the charts and go to the ES. All right. Now, let me close this. Why am I loading up TradingView is I'll drop down to an hourly chart is I want to see my volume profile. And we could see right now we are at the top. We are reaching this liquidity area here, right? And then if I put the volume for the last, I would say 4 days, so basically this week since Monday, so I'll put the visible volume profile here. We are again at the liquidity area. So this whole zone here, the 7,225 volume wise, is where we might want to catch liquidity. So as usual, from a longer term perspective, we've been like pushing straight up. So we can expect, you know, a grab of liquidity, which is why in my scalp I'm targeting these highs, at least on the Nasdaq, which I'll switch to. And we can expect a pullback. Now, how deep will that pullback be? We'll see. Maybe we'll go and retest the higher volume node here, the point of control for the session, right? We have a low volume node right there, the highest volume. So we're comparing the individual volume profiles with the overall. And area of confluence is low volume node here and point of control here. Maybe I should close my Nasdaq trade right now because we're pulling back. Let me see. Oh man, yeah, that was too late. Actually, you know what? What we're gonna do is flip, invert, And I'll be risking those highs targeting lower because maybe the pullback is on. We still have 20 minutes until the open. So that would be, so I was looking for a, a quick catch of liquidity and then a move lower. If that doesn't happen, then, I mean, we might revert higher right now, but I want to see if I could catch something before the open. If not, then we'll wait for the open and take our trades. Game show saying Spanish accent is easier. You'll wait for the S&P to see what it's up to. All right, we're gonna see. We're gonna switch back to the S&P here. So we're pulling back on the S&Ps. So we just saw where the liquidity is, where the levels are. So now let's go back to Black Arrow and mark those levels. MES. All right. So we just saw that this whole zone up here. Let's put a 60-minute chart. This whole zone, this area here, and let's put it in blue as usual, is our liquidity area. And we've already taken out this. If we look at the wick here and the push lower, 9 o'clock, it's entirely possible we continue to push higher, right? But we might get an early pullback since we're pre-open. That's why I'm taking this quick trade. If it's a loss, it's fine. We'll reevaluate once we open. But this is liquidity for me on the ES, right? Let me open my upper chart here. And by the way, if I'm looking up, guys, it's because I have another screen up there. This way I don't have to bounce around between screens as much. This way I can see the volume profile because I don't have it on this version of Black Arrow. I just want to confirm where the levels are. Okay, so point of control is around 71,200. So point of control would be 7195. All right, so right there, this is a point of control right now for this session. So high volume node is here, which is an area we need to be aware of, right? So this area we will call the inflection area. Right? And I think this is going to be key and critical for our trading today if you're trading the ES. And lower end targets, the first one that comes to mind is this area right here, which is where we pivoted from. And it is also a low volume node, so 185 more or less, 185. So this would be another area of interest here on the horizontal levels. But you guys know that the way we approach this is top to bottom. So we've looked at the bigger levels, right? We've looked at the dailies, and let's take a quick look at the daily. So the daily here, that was the upper wick. So we'll put this level here. And that would also represent the 50% area, more or less, of the upper quadrant of this candle. So we could find great support around here or at the upper end around 195. If, of course, we pull back. So we'll see. And this would probably coincide with where VWAP is. Now, the next thing we need to look at is the speed of the price. How fast is price moving? So now what we will do is switch to a line chart, which makes it easier. Switch to a 15-minute chart for a higher time frame area. And then it's easy for us to mark out the trend, right? So what are we seeing for the trend? Let's mark out those two highs. This is how more or less the trend is moving and developing. And then you know that is it possible to trade the future of BTC on this platform? Yes, it is possible to trade BTC. I don't trade BTC very often, but it should be available. Let's see. It should be futures. There we go. BTC futures or BTC K6 is the current futures contract. So you should be able to trade it. So now that we have our trend, let's just dive lower. So I always start off with the line chart because it makes it easier. And then we kind of align it with what is currently traded. So what I'll do is I'll have my stronger lines, and then we'll put a dotted line here where we kind of stepped out of that trend. Because what price will do sometimes is it will remain in the trend, it will test that low, looking for kind of a push lower, and then buyers will step right in because it's considered, it's considered a discount. So we had a push up here, we tried to push out, and then we continue there. And so far, this is our trend. So interesting setups we might see here, and that's the one I'm taking right now, is a push lower, right? Maybe a retest, a grab of liquidity around here, around support, and then a retest higher, right? A repush higher. That's one setup we might look for, which would be an initial short, then a reversal setup, right? But we might also not even do that, not even consider that, pull back to this inflection area and then continue that push up immediately, right? We're still looking bullish right there. So whatever push lower we get here, I'm expecting continuation. Again, I said 70-30 bias. That doesn't mean that we might not get something like that where we push lower, we retest, and then we might have to go and oscillate and find prices much lower, right? That does not eliminate that possibility. But for the time being, what I'm looking for are longs. And if we find them, great. If we don't, then we'll have to reevaluate. So far on the ES, that these are the key levels: 7,195, around 7,200, and then the 180s as areas of interest. So what we're doing is looking for what is price going to do around here, what is price going to do around here, and what is price going to do around here. And depending on what it does, depending on the pattern that emerges, then we will take a trade. All right. And then we'll combine that with the opening range to determine what we're going to do. And the strategy is going to be similar on the Nasdaq because they are kind of moving in lockstep. So let's switch to the Nasdaq. So let me pull up the Nasdaq. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to look at the horizontal levels on the Qs. Okay, so let's pull up our, so same thing here. We have a liquidity area up there around the 27,500, 27,600, sorry, level, right? We are seeing a little bit of a sell-off here. Will we go and test that point of control here, the high volume node, which would coincide, sorry, with this area here. So the area between 27,480 and 27,420, which is about a 50-point distance, is an interesting one for me, which I will mark out on Black Arrow. And then we have, our low volume node here, lower point of control here, and then here. So honestly, this whole area, let me mark it out for you guys. This whole level here is a very interesting one for me, right? That 50%, 50-point range between 480 and more or less 420 is going to be an interesting one for me. So we're going to look at that on Black Arrow. Let's switch to the Nasdaq. So right now we haven't pushed lower, but we're going to mark our levels. So same area, same idea here. Let's zoom out, look at the daily chart. Same, similar situation as the ES. We're slightly a little bit more bullish here. We pulled back, we're trying to break higher, but we haven't quite been able to do so. So the level I'm talking about here is this area here, where actually my stop is for the short, which is where I think we might revert and go long. So if we are marking levels, let's go and mark those horizontal levels in blue. So we have our liquidity area up here that I think we've already grabbed lower, right? If we're not able to push lower by the open, I'll probably get out of this trade and wait because I expected this to work much faster, and we'll probably take off from there. So we'll see. Now we have top level here, and then the next level I'm looking for is those 480s. So let's put it here right now, 480s to 450s, more or less, a little bit below this, right? And then after this, we have the speed of price. So we'll go here, put our line chart, and then find our price. So what I look for are clusters. So right now, what I could see is price accumulated here, right? And this is what I would consider, at least on the 15-minute chart, the primary trend. And this is, I think, where we need to catch up to. Well, I accidentally moved my take profit. I need to lock these. All right. And we'll switch back to the candlesticks. So you see how we kind of broke out of this trend. And if I copy these lines, you could see that we're extending the range, right? So do we need to go back and reaccumulate there in this above the support area to revert back to the upside? That's what we're going to find out, right? That's what we want to see. But right now, the speed of price is this, and then we have our VWAP way below down there on 5-minute. This is what it looks like. And honestly, if we look at this this little pattern we're getting here, let me put this as a dotted line. We are forming somewhat of a triangular pattern here, right? So will we break out of this? We'll see. It's looking more and more bullish because we're not getting continuation here. I thought we would get more continuation to the downside and go test here, but so far we're not getting that. So we'll risk these prior highs right here, as a matter of fact, because, sorry, right here on the wick, because if this is bullish, then it's going to take off right on the open, and we're about 10 minutes from the open, so we'll see what we get. But so far, area of interest for us for a long is around this blue level here for a long, unless we take off before. So what we were hoping for was this to go and retest lower, maybe oscillate here, and then go higher. So far, that's not what we're getting. What we're getting is, you know, a higher low. So we push lower, we formed a higher low. So the price has been speeding up. If I show you, so we have the primary trend here, but what I could consider to be the secondary trend would be this here. So price is accelerating right there, right? But we broke below this, so we're hoping that we can push lower and this can act as resistance. But if it doesn't, it's fine. We will reevaluate and take another trade. Let me know what you guys are looking at, and if you have anything in particular you want me to look at. All right, so we'll leave this Nasdaq trade on, and now we're gonna take a look at our friends gold and oil. Let's switch to oil first. CL. I don't need this for now. We've been talking about this gap and how we broke out of the gap. So let me take out the volume profile for now. Look at how, so as we know, as oil pushes lower, the equities push higher, inversely correlated. We got the market news so far. So the market is looking a little bit more optimistic, discounting this war so far. So we talked about this gap that occurred on the April 10th. I can't remember what happened exactly there, why we got this gap. It was probably some with the news about Iran. Was it when it was probably when we blockaded the area? I need to add a note there, find out what happened. Anyways, we broke outside of the gap, filled the gap again. Let me put this in yellow so we can see. We filled that gap again. You know what? Let me adjust my TP. This is in percentages. I want to see it in points. About 43 points. All right. So let me leave this here. Yeah. So when we were here, I remember talking about this on stream, how we needed to kind of break out of this range, pull back before we took off again. And that's exactly what we did. We broke out of the range, we pulled back, and we took off. And we took off much faster than what I thought we were going to do. I thought we would probably form kind of a similar structure to what was happening there, right? Before we accelerated. But we accelerated pretty fast, and what goes up must come down. We found a top there at that previous pocket of resistance. We formed a double top, very similar. You see how this looked here? This top here, double top here, is very similar to what we just got. Sorry about that. To what we just got on around here, right? So double top, and we're pushing lower. Now, remember, I talk about primary trends, secondary trends, and the speed of price. So if we drag this trend line here, and we're looking at how fast price is moving, well, maybe we might find support right there, and the push lower doesn't need to be that big. But the other possibility is we need to maybe break, retest, go test much lower here before we can revert back to the upside. Of course, here I'm purely talking about technicals. We're not even considering the geopolitical situation, which is what will definitely influence the prices of oil. But remember, as oil pushes lower, then the probability of the indices pushing higher is literally higher. So we'll see what we get there and how the situation evolves. Game show, let me know what you're trading. Are you trading gold? Are you trading the indices? What are you looking at? And then I have Guru. How you doing? Let me know what you're trading. Everybody else who is watching, let me know what you have on your watch list. If you have anything you want me to check out. So now we have literally 3 minutes to go before the open. So we will take a quick look at gold and probably come back to it. But yesterday I talked about a short setup on gold that I missed, but it happened exactly as I thought. So even faster than what I thought. So yesterday we were looking at gold prior to the open. We realized that we had found a trend. We retested that trend and we were pushing lower. So yesterday we were looking for, as we were here, right, a little bit before the open, around 9 o'clock, while we were here, we were looking for a push higher into this area before pushing lower. And I had added this arrow here as my possible target around those 4520s or 4500s here. And that is exactly what we did. Unfortunately, I was not able to catch this trade because it happened so fast. And while talking to Steve, we weren't able to catch it. But what we have done is find a bottom, and we are definitely pushing higher now. So if you're looking at gold, the bias might be bullish. Now, what you need to be aware of is this prior area here where we had some sideways action is the similar area where we're getting some sideways action here, right? So we need to be aware that this might be a consolidation area before we're able to oscillate higher. So we'll let the price build a little bit, and we'll come back to gold in a few. I definitely want to watch what happens on the open, on the Nasdaq, and on the ES. Game show saying he's going to look at indices, forex, and learning how to trade gold. All right. You're accumulating points on the Fiverr's dashboard to buy a futures account. Nice, nice, nice. Very good. Very good. Keep working, keep jabbing, and you're doing all the right things. All right, this is going to probably be a quick trade if it does happen. Hopefully it doesn't kick us out before it reverts back to the upside, but it looks like the buyers are going to be aggressive. So we'll see what we get because the buyers have been trying to hold this much higher. All right, we've just opened. We are pushing lower. All right, we're getting into our take profit area. Hopefully we get it. Come on, come on, come on. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Moved it a little bit higher. We're at the lows. Buyers are really aggressive. Okay, we got it. So first trade is in the books right now. We push a little bit lower. So right now, what we're looking for is this area going to hold, right? This was the quick scalp that I wanted to start the day off. So we're good. We recovered our little loss that we had here. And let's see what happens in this area. We'll switch to the ES and C really quickly. And we're gonna see how buyers and sellers, how aggressive they are today, right? Um, Definitely pushing lower right now. Let me put it on a 15-minute. All right. So we're gonna see how aggressive buyers are in this area, in this range, right? Can they hold this area? Will they recover around VWAP, right? I guess I was too quick to exit. This was definitely a good short. So if you're still holding your short, good on you. I definitely expected a faster reaction of recovery here, but the idea was good. So we'll see. Quick half hour win there for us, and we'll see what we get. Now, we want to see, can this area hold, and how is the price going to behave around this area? Because we had, the news yesterday. So was it kind of, it can't be buy the rumor, sell the news, because the news has already come out, and we didn't see a lot of buying but prior to the news. But we definitely want to see what's going to happen next. Now, while this is cooking, while this is happening, we want to switch back to gold, and let's see how gold is behaving. Let's zoom in a little bit. Gold has formed a range here, has formed the top, right? So if we zoom out, this is the weekly analysis that we publish. And right now, gold has pushed lower and is aiming back towards that previous support area that we had, right? So what we anticipate is a probable push. This is an hourly chart, by the way, is a probable push to the upside to go retest this area. Now, if we're not able to find strength and push up to the upside here, then what will happen, most likely, if we're unable to push higher, is a push lower towards this previous cluster of support here, right? Which would be right around the 4620s. Now, here's the way we want to look at it. Right now, we are forming a commonly known trading pattern, which is an ascending triangle, right? So we have a clearly defined top here, right? Where we've been pushing lower and holding lower at around 4652, right? But we have accelerated, and we have our little trend here, our little trend pattern right here, right? Now, we've tried to break out under it, and we've retested this area. So then what happens is, are we trying to find the secondary trend, which would be kind of guided by VWAP here? So if we are bullish and if we are able to push higher, then we would push towards this area here, maybe reconquer this highs, and we would probably have to push high again before we're able to go retest this lower area. So what we want to see, if we're looking for a long, right, is a break above this prior resistance area. So more specifically, above this liquidity area here for the 4657s, more or less. So we'll say give or take 4655, right? What you want to see is a break above this area, a pullback, and once we reach that pullback, then you could probably enter your trade, risking whatever prior low gets determined here and pushes higher. Now, if we are not able to get this, if on the other hand, we formed a lower low compared to this low here, we form a lower low, we go retest this area, then that would be your possible short entry for a retest of a prior lower level, right? And then it's important to look left to see that that level here would align with this here. So we're talking the 4620s more or less as a target. So here for maybe a 25 point win. That is if you get that retest. Now if it runs away from you, then it runs away from you. Do not fight the trend. There the setups will always come back. You will get another setup tomorrow, the day after, or whatever. If you can't read the chart well, guys, do not force the trades. So we want to be aware also of this level right here. And we're talking short-term trades here. We're talking intraday trades. We're not talking swing trades or longer term trades. This is going to be an interesting level here, and we want to see what price does around this area, right? Can it hold and push higher? And if it can hold and push higher, you kind of want to be looking at some subtype of W-shaped bottom here. You want to get a low, a retest, and then either a higher low to push higher or a liquidity grab where you push lower than the prior level and push higher. Sometimes these moves can be even more intense than the other moves because this traps shorts and shorts get squeezed and the price moves higher. So we'll see what we get, and it could even be occurring right now where we're not even tapping into this level and we're really forming a bottom here to go retest those highs. So depending on how cautious you are, just have your levels predefined, have your risk parameters predefined, and be clear on where you want to take those trades. Let's switch back to the indices to see what is going on. So right now on the ES, we have broken multiple levels. We are below the area of interest that I had. So around here, like I said. So now all I want to see is, okay, how are we going to behave around this area in order for us to be able to take our trade? Because right now, my bullish bias has switched from, I would say, 70-30 to 60-40. Why? Because we didn't see a quick recovery here. We saw price definitely push lower. Right. So this was, and actually my idea to short pre-market was correct. I thought we were going to get a quicker recovery, but right now we're really pushing lower on the ES. So let's switch to the Nasdaq and see what we're getting on the Nasdaq. And we'll definitely take a look at the Russell and also the Dow. Oh man, look at that. Our trade would have turned into a huge monster trade by now. So we've broken all the support levels and we're pushing lower. That tells me that, okay, my bias now needs to switch. We're not, we can't be bullish anymore. We've captured all that liquidity here and we're definitely pushing lower. So we want to see what we're going to do. So right now the bias is 50-50. We could go anywhere. We're getting a huge range right now for anybody who trades the opening range breakouts. This is a huge, huge range. Almost 200 points. Actually, no, 200 points. Let's see. Let me just hover over this. The range is 189 points so far. Where it says amplitude here, you could see that the range is 189 points. Compared to yesterday's range of 89 points, that's 100 points above the range that we had yesterday. So kind of kicking myself now for not holding this trade. I really honestly thought that we were going to get a much faster recovery, so that we would oscillate here, wick lower, test these highs again before pushing lower. That's the scenario I had in my head. But of course, what you have in your head is not necessarily what's going to play out. And this would have been an awesome hold, man. Too bad. And this is where you want to be disciplined and not chase, because you were already in the trade. I was already in the trade. I expected the price to do something. It didn't do what I think it was going to do. It actually did it way better. So now we're completely selling off. And if we switch to a daily chart, I definitely want to see what this looks like on the daily. Let's go to the NQs on the day. We are definitely whoa. Game show saying, unfortunately, you didn't catch that sale. You didn't hit the top. It didn't fit your setup. Well, no problem at all. The important thing here is it did not fit your setup, so you didn't take the trade. And I think that is very good and very valid, right? We don't want to chase. We want to be disciplined. Look at me. I was actually in the trade. It did fit my setup. I took the trade, but I exited way too early, expecting something else to happen. So that's part of trading, guys. It's not always going to be perfect. Sometimes you're going to catch great setups and you're going to print money. Sometimes you're going to be in a trade, but expect it not to have follow through and exit too soon. I mean, there is a lot of variance in trading. The important thing is you continue to be disciplined. You avoid doing the stupid stuff. So there's I don't know if you've ever heard this, but Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett used to say that I can't quote it exactly, but their success is largely due to them avoiding the stupid stuff. What is the stupid stuff? Trying to chase, risking too much than you should, entering trades that don't fit your setup. If you avoid the stupid stuff, then you should do just fine, right? So that's going to sometimes it means you're going to miss trades, right? Sometimes it's going to mean you're in a trade, but you don't catch the amount of profit it could have generated for you. As long as you continue to avoid the stupid stuff, then you should be fine. So very good game show. You didn't catch the trade. That's totally fine. That's the advantage of trading for yourself. And, you're not necessarily. So if you were working, for example, for a traditional prop firm, you would probably be kicking yourself here because you're trying to generate money for the firm only. But the advantage we have is we're trading for ourselves. We are our own bosses, and it can be okay for us not to catch a particular trade. Of course, you want to look at it and you want to see, okay, next time this occurs, what could I modify or what could I do better, right? But so far, it's fine. We didn't catch a trade. Tomorrow we'll get another greater one, or we will probably find a continuation setup here where we can actually catch the next trade. So don't beat yourself up too much. It's totally fine. Let us see what we can get. Now, I had another trend, longer term trend here that we are kind of inching towards. So this buy area here is interesting to me. Now, I have an opening range indicator that I've built, that I've coded, that I'm going to turn on. That's going to show us what the opening range is. And this could be a great buy. This is a definitely good and interesting reversal setup, right? This is probably my most favorite trade setup. So we will probably look at entering this trade on a pullback. It can be a risky one and it can run away from us, but we'll see what it does. We are getting to a interesting level. So here, let's just look at the volume profile. Let's look at where we are. So we are at a prior high. So this was the standard deviation from yesterday. We are at a pivot area on with the volume, right? And we have almost gone past the first 15 minutes of the day. So this was probably panic selling, and we might kind of turn the tide and revert back up. If we do enter this trade, right, if we do find something that makes sense, then we would have a few targets. The first target would be this area right here, right? I wouldn't target all the way to these highs. Why? Because we had resistance over here. I mean, support over here. Support turns into resistance. This would be the first target if we enter here. So um, that would be the first area where we would look at. And actually, this is marked by my indicator right there. This is 50% of the range. The range I could see is opening range high 220 points. So what I want to see now, and if it's gonna want to run away from us, we'll let it run away from us. But we want to see, okay, once it reaches the 50% of the range, what does it do? Does it pull back or does it break above? So we're gonna keep being patient here. We've had a huge sell-off, and we unfortunately we didn't have time to catch this recovery here to have risk that makes sense. So the price where it would have made sense for us is right here around 24 or 27, 307. We're not able to catch that, so we'll wait. Maybe we could find a setup on the ES. So let's wait. And that would be for a quick recovery, because if we're going to continue to push lower, we also need to be aware of that. So let's just wait, let's be patient, and let's find something that definitely makes sense. Let's switch to the ES. And I haven't looked at the Dow. All right, the Dow is looking interesting here. We've had sideways consolidation. The Dow acting as a leading indicator for me. You can see this this range here, and we're trying to break out of it. And then the halfway point would be here. So this is an interesting pattern for me. Let me just look at this longer term. Interesting. The Dow is looking mighty bullish. So let's see what we get. If we can get a pullback to here and hold, right? If we pull back to here and we hold, maybe we could push higher. So we'll see what we get here. Let me just leave this Dow trade on. Now, if we are unable to hold, we will push lower. So let's switch back to the ES, and I'm seeing somewhat of a divergence as the Dow is pushing up. The other assets are pushing lower. So we looked at the gold, GC. Let's go back to gold over here. So we're not able to hold under here. Now we want to find out, can we hold these bottoms? And then we could probably enter long to go retest the highs. If we can't hold these bottoms, then that would mean that we are we're still very bearish, and we'll see continuation to the downside. All right, give me 1 second, guys. Let me just look at a few other things really quickly. So we're seeing a little bit of buying here. And remember, it's going to be 10 o'clock. So that is always something to be aware of, is that hourly open. And this might just be a consolidation before we get another push. So we want to keep that in mind. Let me look at gold really quick. So you remember gold. All right. That's what I was looking for. For gold, remember we said this was our area where we could be interested in. So we want to see, based on the previous cluster here, what is this going to be? Can we find support here and revert back to the upside? Or is this going to be where we break and push lower? So far, we're looking... I haven't seen too much strength. So let's see what we get. I am more and more interested in trying a long. So we want to see a little bit of volume increase here before we try this long. So let's see what we get. And then we'll determine whether or not we need to try here. All right, I'm seeing what I want to see. So we're going to risk the prior lows. If this cannot push higher, then if we can't get this continuation higher on the next few candles, then we'll be looking for shorts. Because if longs are gonna, step in, they're gonna step in fast. If not, then the short bias is back on and we will continue to push lower. So we want to see what happens here. All right, longs are not able to catch that. So I'm not even going to stay in this trade. We'll look for shorts in a few. All right. All right, we definitely seem to be pushing lower here. So let's just mark it in. Risk those prior highs. Hopefully it's not a liquidity grab. And let's see what we get. See if we could get some follow through. Again, keep in mind, this might be the liquidity grab. So we pulled back. I felt we probably could have gotten the push higher here. We're not getting it, but it might be the liquidity grab where we revert back to the upside. So keep that in mind. That's entirely possible. If not, then it will be a push lower. And the possible targets are much lower. All right, let's see if we can continue this. All right, in terms of points, we want to see quick follow through. Now, something I want to show you guys, and I want you to be aware of on the NQ, let me put this on a 5-minute chart, is we are at a support level, right? So I'm basically selling the lows here. We need to keep in mind the London low, right? So is the London low going to act as a support? Because we've pushed lower, we've dropped 200 points. Of course, based on the Nasdaq that can, move 400 points or more in a day, we still have room, but we need to be aware that there is a prior level of support around here. So once we reach that area, we need to be aware that, this is a possible area where you might want to take some profits, and that would be about, what is that? About 75 points lower. So say maybe 100 points lower. So let's see. Now, in terms of targets, usually we use the opening range. And I didn't put the opening range today, but I'm going to do that right now. Usually, even though this has been a huge range, so 930 is around here, 945 is around here. So half of the range would align. So that half right there would probably align with, yeah, would align with this. So this is your first possible target. Second possible target is around those 27,068s. But we're talking in terms of length, yeah, 400 plus points. So a more logical target is as you get close to this halfway point there, to this prior level here, and we should probably mark this here with this blue line. Even here, soon as you get in this area for a scalp, this could be a possible target, right? So we'll see what we get once we get around here. Selling bottoms is never the best strategy, and we'll probably see some buying here as people see this as a liquidity grab, and we'll see if we get some follow through. Game show saying for now you're trying to buy Bitcoin. All right, let's switch to Bitcoin. Let's see what Bitcoin is doing while this this trade is working. What is Bitcoin doing? Let's go on a daily chart. Let me take this out. Daily chart. So I have a very, you know what? Let me zoom back out and go to the weeklies. And before I forget, let me just set my profit target here. Profit target should be around these lows, 173. So buyers might be stepping in as expected here. But I kind of want to let this one run. That would be 150 points. Let's see if we can get a good run out of this one. All right, I'm not adding to this trade because I didn't get a great entry and I'm not 100% convinced. There's quite a bit of distance to travel. So we'll let this one run. Now, let me look at Bitcoin. 77,000. Okay. 77,000. Let me switch to this. 77,000, which would be around here. Let me just see where 77,000 is. Okay, right there. Zoom in. Okay, what's your entry, Game Show? And are you doing a day trade, a swing trade? What are you doing? The other thing you need to be aware of, by the way, when you're trading, and I'm just looking here at the Nasdaq, is we will move in 100 or 50 point increments. So right here, anybody who shorted here, right? Once this is 137 points. This was 100 points. So anybody who entered here is looking to cover here. So how fast of a recovery are we going to get? We'll see. So that's what you need to be aware of. Now, maybe we pull back 50 points. And if we get a curl back down, then that's a good area for us to add and kind of target those lower lows. But if we don't get that, then it's probably the reversal I was looking for that's happening. So I'll just let that do what it's going to do, and then we'll look at Bitcoin with Game Show. All right, so you entered the 15-minute time frame right after the opening. Okay, so let's look at that setup. And let's see what Game Show did and to see what makes sense. So 9:30 was here. This is a 5-minute chart. So 5-minute, 15-minute here. This is the opening range for Bitcoin. Let's go back to a 1-minute. This way we could see the price. So this is our range right there. I'll put it in yellow. This way you can see it better. So There's different ways to approach the opening range. First 15 minutes is 9:45 around here. So that's your opening range. Perfect. So we touched the highs and now we're pulling back. So what you want to see is we hold this level and we push lower. Now, a few things to be aware of. We could go and retest those highs and revert back down. Okay, that would be a bearish scenario. So we'll put that in red. A second scenario would be sideways consolidation. So sideways price action, which would be a push higher. We are pulling back here, so we'll stay there. We go retest a lower high. We go retest a higher low, and then we stay inside this box while eventually finding our direction. So that's the neutral case. The bearish case is this one here, where we touch the lows, we can't recover, and we continue to oscillate lower. And then finally, we're going to put the bearish case, which is what I'm hoping for since you have a bull target. So now the bullish case is same scenario. We touch those highs, we pull back, and then I'll put it in, actually, let me put this in green because it's a bullish case. So breakout, pull back, we push higher. So we want to decisively break out of there, maybe do a pullback on the highs, have the longs re-enter and push higher. Now, Game Show says he's targeting 77,000. So what I usually do and use as a reference is take my opening range and look at one, what I'll call standard deviation above. So I think 77,000 is a definite target. Is a decent target. You might see some selling around 76,900 if we're bullish, right? Some profit taking, and then because it's the halfway point. So what you need to think of, everybody who bought here, right, risking those lows. So if you take a long position, you enter here, you risk those lows here, and then once you push higher here, this target is almost a 2-to-1 if you entered here, right? So you might see some profit taking here. But the other thing you need to think about is, okay, once we pull back here, we also have people that entered that are probably going to take the break of the breakout. So what they're going to wait for is that break, that pullback, and they're going to enter here, and they're going to target the upper end of the range. So they're going to target here, right? So what we would do in that case is if we take this, we consider that these people entered right here, they would be risking this low. So let's just make this shorter so we can see the different setups. What I'm trying to see is the psychology of anybody who entered. So we entered here, we're risking this low, and we're targeting this high, right? And that would be another probable 2-to-1 setup. So I think your area of 77,000 is a decent target. A more conservative target would be 76,900. And then a higher end target would be around 77, I would say 77,150, kind of front running this area here. That is if we do get the bullish case. Now, why do I always have a bullish, a bearish, and a neutral case? It's because I want to keep in mind that we are seeing a lot of actions, but we have different players thinking different things. And whoever is the more aggressive side is going to win. So if I'm bullish, the behavior I'm looking for is a behavior similar to the green arrows that I have here. If I'm getting a behavior that is more similar to the yellow arrows or to the red arrows, I know that I'm wrong. And there I can decide, how do I want to manage this trade? Do I want to hold it until my stop gets hit? Do I want to take a partial loss if it's not working? Or do I want to actually change my plan if my bullish scenario is not working out, then do I want to consider another scenario? Game show saying the book map shows 0.77 and the pressure is on the bullish side. I'm protected. Hopefully it won't come back. Yeah. Hey, honestly, I want you to win. I want your trade to work out. So definitely want that to push up. And as things are pushing up, I think I should look at my trade. Yeah. So this was, it's funny how cleanly this level that I marked out was support right here. So this was probably where we would want to enter our long if we're gonna have a long reversal. But so far, I haven't seen the aggression I want to see, and so far for me, I'm still leaning bearish. So I'm gonna keep my bearish thesis here until I'm proving wrong. This is the stop, so we'll see what we get. Now, again, definitely an area where one could have entered long. I just want to see, okay, is this a break lower and are we going to push back down here? If that doesn't occur, then this was definitely the area to buy and we would be targeting, like I said before, those prior highs. So I tried my long maybe too early here. We were talking, so we didn't have time to manage the short. So let's just see what happens. Buyers definitely taking over here. We're seeing increase in volume. Let's just see if this is not manipulation and we get some weird price action. Well, look at what's going on here. We have shorts re-entering the chat, as they say. And this is probably a good area to add if we're gonna really move lower. So we'll add, we'll keep our same risk, and we'll see if this short works. If it doesn't, then the bull case is back on. But that rejection that I saw here, we'll see if it works. Because I'm wondering, do we need to, we didn't see a quick recovery. So the bullishness I was looking for was, okay, a push higher, a quick recovery here, and then we really go fast and oscillate up there. If that is not happening, then we probably need to kind of, since we saw a fast selling, we probably need to maybe retest this area, or if it's going to be short, then it's going to be lower, or is it going to be kind of a cupping formation where what we end up getting is a lot of sideways action here, where we kind of move sideways before moving back up if we move back up. So let's see what we get. We're seeing some selling here, so I added to the short. And then I'm targeting two areas. I'm targeting this halfway point here for the first take profit, and then we'll see if we get another one lower. And at this point right now, risk management says we can risk these highs, because if our trade is going to work, then it's going to just push lower. If buyers are going to re-enter, then it's just going to revert back up. So that high is not even relevant anymore. Now we could just risk those prior highs. And sometimes I just put it on the wick, because if it's going to go back up, I mean, if it's going to go down, we're going to have follow through. If it's going to go back up, then these levels are just going to hold, and we'll be wrong on this trade. But so far, shorts are trying to push this lower. We want to see, are the shorts going to be able to hold and push lower or not? So far, so good for the shorts. Let's just see if this holds. So while this is working, let's just go and look at the other assets. So interesting. The Dow is pushing up, and that's a divergence for me. The Dow sometimes is the leading indicator and shows us that, okay, things actually want to move up. They don't want to move down. And let's look at the ES. ES trying to hold as well. So you see how this level was an interesting one. This is where we got the break, the retest, and you could have entered short here for a nice almost 20-point win, right? This would have been a great entry on the retest, and that's why we said this was an area of interest for us. And I gotta say, guys, once when I'm talking to you and bouncing from asset to asset, sometimes we don't catch the setups we want to catch. So let's look at GC. All right, so GC is smack dab in the area we talked about. We saw buyers step in. So it's easy here to say, okay, is this area going to hold? Let me just take this out. Is this area going to hold? Once we once we push here, can this... And the tricky thing about gold is it could take a while. You could push here, you could accumulate sideways for a while before pushing up. If, for example, we look at this area, how we accumulated here, how long did this take? This took an hour and 20 minutes. Sometimes you accumulate like this area here, right? So this took maybe, yeah, 50 minutes, so about an hour. So you might have to give it some time, but sometimes also gold decides to run away from you, like here where you just take off. So it's a tricky one. You need to determine where your entry is going to be, where your exit is going to be, how much you're going to risk ahead of time to really find your stride trading gold. So that's why this is an asset I only trade where I really have something staring at me in the face, right? Something where I just can't deny that there's a clean setup here. So maybe the ideal scenario for me here would have been a retest here on this this area, and I probably could have shorted here, but I didn't catch that. Let's go back to the Nasdaq. So they are still buying. They are at my support area. So it looks like the long are really trying to push this higher. Let me look at this on a 15-minute chart. This area really acting as support here. And if we look at this, so if we break out of there, that is on for the longs. And from what I see, you know, the pattern formation here, we are longs really want to cover. I mean, shorts might really want to cover, and we'll see. So our line in the sand is this trend line here. So at this point, we could just turn this into a sort of break-even trade where we don't need to risk more. Yeah, we need to turn this into a break-even trade because the shorts are not winning the fight here. We have a double bottom. I might even want to change my bias here. Risk those prior highs and kind of find the long setup that I was looking for. So we've inverted our bias. We're risking the prior highs. Let's see if we can break out of this. Risking the prior lows. Let's see if we could break out of this and continue and go do the recovery that we were talking about earlier today. We're seeing the increase in volume. We're trying to break out of this, what I could call tertiary trend. And let's see if we get the long. Look at this on a 15. All right, and then if this breaks out, then we'll add to our position on the breakout. But if not, if it sells off, then it's off. I've just seen a lot of aggressive buying here, and this is at a key support level for me. So I thought we would get immediate follow through on the short here. Since we didn't get it, we got some buying. I'm seeing the aggression here. Maybe we recover. Well, not exactly what I want to see. So it looks like the shorts are still putting pressure on the longs. So I guess the bias remains short. We'll wait for the next candle. Sorry, we'll wait for the next candle to see what happens, to see if we can recover. But if not, then we get out of this trade because it might seem that we've entered a consolidation phase. All right, this is the follow through on the short side. And we're definitely wrong on this one. So our initial short idea was the correct one. Um, so we were right to target these lows. I just saw a fast recovery here. It's been a tricky one for me to this morning. So yep, the short initial short idea was the right one. We are so far down. How many points on the Nasdaq? We're down 330 points. So it's totally possible to target those $27,000 lows here. We'll see what we get. Maybe this was the liquidity flush, but kind of annoyed here that I didn't hold my trade. It's a small loss. It's just a 1R loss, but that's the second trade that I didn't hold for today. I need to be a little bit more patient, guys. Let me know what you're looking at. What trades are you in? Let me know how it's going for you. So right now we're kind of forming this downtrending channel right now. And the idea is, yeah, this could revert back to the upside anytime now. Because I think what's happening is we have a battle of the longs and the shorts. And so we've oscillated here, retested those this opening range low, retested this level, and now we're covering around the 50% area of this second range, and we're probably going to test the high of this channel right now, or maybe this level here. And now we need to see, okay, will we be able to break out, or will we just continue to channel downwards before we can recover? What I'm thinking here is we have a battle of longs trying to enter the picture that consider this to be a great discount, and shorts continuing to push this lower. So we will have to wait and see who wins the battle before we get clear direction here on the Nasdaq. Now let's just look at gold. Let's just look at this. So we've dipped into this area and we're holding. So the question here is, do we want to push higher? So you could enter a trade here, risking those prior lows for a push up into that resistance. The thing with gold, though, is sometimes you have to be extra patient because you might get a retest here lower. So we'll have to see. what happens. Guys, remember to like, remember to subscribe. Game Show said BTC removed me from protection. All right, I'm gonna check out Bitcoin to see what scenario, which one of all those scenarios we talked about is playing out. Just setting up another trade here. 1 second, guys. All right, let's look at the ES. ES looking interesting for longs. Is that the recovery? So same as the Nasdaq, you see we're getting this kind of channeling action here, right? So the question remains, is this going to continue to channel, or are you able to kind of break out of this pattern and oscillate lower? Right? So basically, can you break out of there, pull back, continue higher, or is this just the resistance area where this is going to occur and we're going to keep channeling downwards, right? Before we eventually get the reversal, or maybe this is just a flag and it continues to push lower. So we'll see what we get. Let me look at Bitcoin. So definitely one of the possible scenarios we talked about. This is we had the green one, which didn't occur. We had the yellow one, which so far hasn't occurred, and then we're getting that red scenario here that we talked about. All right, so we're gonna oscillate back. Sorry, guys, just looking at a position here. So definitely, okay, we're getting that breakout on the ES. So what we could do is start scaling in, right? We could start scaling on the position, risking those prior lows, and then we'll see if we can get a retest to add to that position. So basically the idea behind this setup is, okay, you've broken out of there. Do we get the pullback so we can push higher, right? That would be the possible setup. So we'll let that do what it does. Let's take a quick look at the Nasdaq. Where's the Nasdaq? M&Q. I need to put these in order. So let's put the Nasdaq first. Let's put the ES second. Let's put gold third and oil there. All right, I don't really need this. Nasdaq. All right, so Nasdaq looking like it wants to break out of there. So same setup as the ES. Not super convincing yet on the Nasdaq, but the idea is the same. We want to see, okay, can we break out of this pattern? We're in this area here, and can we go and oscillate higher, right? So you could totally take a trade here, risking those prior lows for a push higher. So we'll see if we can get it or not, or if this is just another fake out. Okay, we're seeing some increased buying, so we're gonna try one last time on the Nasdaq and see if we can get the push higher. So 2 trades on, one on the Nasdaq, one on the ES, and let's see if we can get it. If we don't get it, then we will continue to push lower. So looking for a quick recovery here. maybe a retest of these highs, or a retest of VWAP. So let's see if we can get it, if buyers have the strength to turn the tide. This blue area was definitely my area of interest to enter along. We've already tapped into that 50% area here. Looking for another breakout. If we don't get it, then that will probably be my last trade of the day. So the short's really pushing today. We're not able to get any significant recovery on the index. Probably should have been a little bit more patient here. Should have waited for a definite close, because, well, actually we got the close on the 5-minute, but we instantly rejected, and we're continuing to push lower. So we'll let this one be, and we'll see what we get. So the short bias of this morning was definitely right. The best trade of the day was the one where we entered here, because we got the complete sell-off here from yesterday, and we're just continuing to push lower with no sign of recovery in sight. Let's just look at our ES trade. Yeah, the ES looking similar. We got the retest of VWAP, and we're pushing lower. So we're definitely not seeing what we would want to see as a recovery. ES looking slightly less bearish than the Nasdaq. So let's see what we get. Will this be the retest where we're able to break higher or not? So far, if we look on a higher time frame, we're seeing buyers try to hold this area here. We saw some wicks. Let me just switch to this. We saw some wicking action here. We had this doji candle, so indecision candle print here, with buyers trying to recover here. We're seeing some buying action here, but will this be convincing enough to push us higher? We'll see. We'll find out in a few. We're holding the trade. We're staying in the trade. Because this is my last trade of the day. We've tried 3 times or 4 times. I think 3 times, about 3 trades. So for me, it's 3 strikes and we're out. So yeah, we had the first short, which was a correct trade. Then we had the second short on, which we ended up closing too early. We tried a long here. And yeah, so that's our 4th attempt. I should have stopped at 3, but counting the one that worked this morning, if I try 3 times and it doesn't work, then I stop, because I'm just not reading it right. So we'll let this do what it does. We'll see, and we'll find out. Now, let's switch to gold. So gold trying to hold, right? So possible targets, like I said here, if you enter in this area, you're risking the prior lows for 2-to-1. This would be your take profit area, but it's probably a good idea to wait for the retest. So right now, as we're seeing gold push lower, that probably means that our index trades are also hesitating. Nasdaq not yet able to recover. So can the longs push higher? They're really trying to buy here, really trying to find that recovery. So we'll see what we get. All right, buyers stepping in. And can we get that push higher? Can we get that volume is what we want to find out. All right, finally, while this is doing what it does, let me check out Bitcoin. So actually, Bitcoin is playing out that yellowish scenario now, right? So we've turned from, and this is why you need to have multiple scenarios in your head and decide what you're going to kind of go for, because inside that range, inside that first 15 minutes, we're still inside the range, guys, at least when it comes to Bitcoin, right? So we came in here, all right, we're really pushing higher, which is great. We came in here, we retested the lows, and now we're finally, so buyers, at least on Bitcoin, have finally stepped in. So if we went from that red scenario where we were not able to continue to push lower, they were able to buy here and they're pushing higher. So the next thing you want to figure out is, okay, will this remain inside the box or continue to push higher, right? That's what you want to find out. Will this stay inside this range, which would mean it's going to be a sideways day, or is it going to go higher? What you want to do to find that out is, once we reach those prior highs, so we're already seeing some resistance, some selling here, which is normal. Once you reach those prior highs, can you break over them? Right. And if you spend too much time here, like if you can't break decisively here after, I would say, 1 or 2 5-minute candles and continue to push higher, whoa, sorry, then it's highly likely that that yellow scenario here that we have continues to happen inside this range. And if we can't find the strength to push higher, then what's going to happen? We're going to push lower. So, that's what you want to find out. So here we're trying to recover, probably trying to recover on the indices as well. Yep, we're trying to recover here. So we're finally in profit on this trade. We are finally in profit on this trade. Since I have 2 trades on different indices, not going to add to them yet. Let's look at the Nasdaq. Yeah. So what we need is for this to be decisive. Let me reset this so I could see it on the 5-minute. Yeah, what we need to see is follow through on this trade. So you see how we broke out? Okay, that's fine. We broke out. Now we need to retest. We're going to retest this area. So can we retest and recover and continue to oscillate higher? Remember, I talked about how we might form a cupping pattern, and that's what's occurring. The cupping pattern is formed because psychologically we're not able to, we still have shorts and longs battling, and we're still under that opening range. So we have people who are waiting for that retest that probably entered short here. But we also have longs waiting for the discount, right? So they can buy here. So will this hold? We don't know. This might have been the short entry setup where we get that follow through to the downside, because we didn't get that decisive buying that we were looking for, where we were able to push higher. So much more bearish on the Nasdaq. The recovery looked a little bit better on the ES, but we're still not able to find enough strength in the buying to recover. So that strength might come much later on during the day. It might come, around 2 p.m. or whatever. But if it does come right now, then that would be a good thing for us. So let's see what we get. So far, things are not looking great on the long side. Going back to gold. So that's that retest we've talked about. Yep, that's the retest we talked about this morning. Push lower, pull up. Now we're looking for the retest. So if we are able to recover here, then why is this showing? Let me see something. I don't know why I keep every time I do an arrow on gold, I have these. Oh, it's probably because I clicked on the candles. All right, so here we want to see, okay, is this a true recovery where we're able to recover from this low and push lower? So what you want to see and what you want to wait for is, okay, can we get another, after this candle closes, can we get another green print? If not, then the short is on gold, and we have target. We have plenty of targets lower, right? If we can't recover from this, then it's a push lower. Game show saying the indexes are going to recover, or they're going to correct this drop. Well, let's see. So far, it's not looking great for the longs, but we need to correct, and we need to correct fast if if we're going to correct. But right now, it is not looking good for longs at all. We've seen a lot of fighting. We need to see. So the shorts are really pushing hard, and they're really pushing lower, because what you see is every time we get a push up, the shorts enter and they push it down decisively. We got those big candles here, those huge, engulfing type of candles that engulf the whole previous move, and then we get a slight push up. We need to make a lot of effort with the long. So, for example, on this, if you look at here, and I'm almost getting stopped out right now. If you look here, you see how it took us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles to move up? And then 1, 2, 3, those 3 candles were completely engulfed by this single candle here. And then we get another push into this level here lower, and then we get a heavy push down again with the shorts. Finally, we get another, so it's kind of subdued here. And then here is kind of our last chance to recover. If we don't recover right now, then it's highly likely we push lower. So hopefully this acted as a support right here, though, that 27, 174, 175 level. And hopefully we recover here. If not, then we continue to push lower. But like I was saying earlier, this definitely looks like cupping action. So what I mean by cupping action is you have a long fight between longs and shorts, right? Which kind of, you initial drop and then you go like this. And then you take off, you pull back, and you recover. So if that is what is occurring, then it's going to be a long wait before we recover those longs. If not, if we get a huge influx of longs, then we'll get a much faster recovery. But it's not looking like the longs are winning. You see, every time we try to push up, the shorts re-enter. So this prior support level is acting as resistance now, and we're about to get stopped out on our last trade of the day. And then let's look at the ES. So ES kind of recovering better. I mean, trying to recover better. So there's relative strength here. ES is doing a better job of holding the levels. But so far, longs are not winning the fight. So right now we are below, we're below the London low. So let's see. All right, we're seeing some increased volume here. Let's see if they can defend this level. Of course, they know the logical stop is here, so we might get a wick down and a move up. So we could risk maybe a little bit below this. But so far the longs have not been winning the fight. Are really trying to recover here. I'm seeing the volume increase, so the longs are really trying to buy, but the shorts are just pushing. So let's see what we get. Let's see if we could get a straight recovery, or will this be a lower high again? Like this high we got there, will this area become a lower high right there where we just are unable to recover and we push lower? What you want is to gradually form higher lows, right? You form higher lows, then you get that cupping action that I talk about. What we would prefer is an influx of longs where this was the retest and we're really able to push up decisively, break back into this this box, the opening range, and then oscillate higher. So we'll see what we get here. We're seeing a little bit of a recovery. So far, so good. Let's see what we get. Target is 27,381. So remember this morning we talked about the halfway point. So the halfway point of the range. So right here, that was the first target for the short. Let me put this in a dotted line. That was the first target for the short. So far, this has acted as a decent support. And that's why it was our first target. So hopefully that holds as the support for our long recovery short. I mean, long recovery trade. So that's the Nasdaq. Let's look at the ES. ES looking slightly better. It's looking a little bit more bullish. But we're still under VWAP. So VWAP being volume weighted average price. It's the average price they've been paying for the asset. So far, we're still holding under. This one I might add to because it's looking better than the NQ trade. So let's mark it in. Let's add a little bit to that one. Because if we recover, I think we might get a better push on the ES in comparison to the Nasdaq. So let's see what we get. Looking good on the 5-minute. And the targets are, the first target is my first area of interest. So that little circle here. Second target, if we really recover, and that would probably take a while, it would be those prior highs. But that's, of course, if we really have a strong recovery. So we'll see what we get. If not, then this will fail and we will definitely continue to push lower. So ES looking better than the Nasdaq. Let's go back to gold. All right, so you're getting that double bottom that we talked about on gold, right? So we said push lower, recover, get a second level here. This is a 5-minute chart. So you could possibly look for gold entries here, right? And you could use a tight stop, enter around this area here, and then you would be risking the prior low. So you're entering around this area, and risking those prior lows. And then your possible targets are, like I'm just showing here. Target 1 is this area, this pocket right here. And then target 2 is the liquidity area up here. And if we really get a strong push, then you could go a little bit higher. for a higher risk reward trade. Of course, that is depending on the amount of contracts you enter with. So good call here, Game Show. You're saying the indexes will correct this drop now. You said that 9 minutes ago, and so far, let's look at the ES. ES looking to recover. So far that's looking good. And let's look at the Qs. The Qs are also, I mean, the Nasdaq is also recovering. So awesome call. You called this 10 minutes ago. It's 10:45. So let's see how accurate you were. 10:45. So 10 minutes ago would be 10:35. So 10:35. Yep. So you called it. You called it right on time. I don't know if you entered a trade or what, but looking good, dear. Looking good. You say I'll wait until this H1 for the S&P 500 is finished. It'll form an FEG. I'll see if I can sell it. Okay. You said you'll wait until this 1 hour for the S&P 500. So we still got 15 minutes to go. Let me look at the hourlies on the ES. Let's put the hourlies. Yeah, definitely. It's gonna be, so we're targeting the logical area to take profit for me would be the 50% of that first candle. So you're saying the fair value gap would probably be created around here. So between here and somewhere around here, right? That would be the fair value gap if we close here. And that's totally valid, right? Which would mean that I need to bring my target down to about, the 7180s or something like that. That totally makes sense. We'll see what happens after this hourly close. But depending on how aggressive it is, if we get, so remember, we had a super huge drop, but looking back and pushing back, right? We could be possibly, if this setup doesn't work, we could be, if we're really bullish, forming another hourly like this, and an hourly, another hourly kind of like this, depending, of course, on how intense we are. Because the thing is, when drops or when patterns happen fast, the trend lasts. How do I explain this correctly? So if you get an up move with multiple slow candles, so it's a slow developing pattern, that pattern has a tendency to last much longer than when you have huge candles and a fast up move. That's why I like to look at the speed of price, right? So let's see how fast this recovery happens, because we had a fast drop. And if this recovery happens, the slower it happens, right? So for example, if we keep getting slow candles, slow candles, slow candles, this has the opportunity to do like we did here, where we kind of form a bullish structure, right? And so far we're seeing that cupping pattern that I talked about, where we might see, like you said, we might get this FEG here where shorts enter and then we push lower. But as soon as we push lower, those prior resistance levels become support, and then we continue to oscillate higher. So that would be one scenario to keep in mind. Another scenario to keep in mind is the one you're talking about, which is where we kind of oscillate here, and then that becomes, a reversion back to the downside. So these two scenarios are entirely possible. We want to see what's going to happen. But so far, I'm thinking maybe we hold the trend. So we'll see. Let's see what happens when that 1 hour, when hourly candle closes. Finally, let's take a look at gold. Game Show saying the speed of these candles can be dangerous, so the market might want another upward movement, disregarding my entry point. I think I understand more or less. The speed of can be dangerous. Yeah. Again, what I'm saying is whatever your trade is going to be, you want to game plan different scenarios. Remember, let's just go back to Bitcoin. This is why I game plan different scenarios. So at the beginning, so let's just replay this so we could see. When we were here, right? When we were here, what did we say? We say, well, at this point, if we entered long, what we want to see is a push higher there, a pullback, and a continuation. Well, we can replay this. That did not happen. So let's replay this. So we think we're getting it. We think we're getting it. We think we're getting it. And then we get a push lower. So now what I want to say is by this candle here, if you're not getting that push higher, then you can start forgetting about your long. You want to have those two scenarios in mind. So for example, depending on where your stop was, if your stop was all the way down there, then it doesn't make sense to wait for this to move all the way down there, right? At least in my opinion. You could stop out right there, take a much smaller stop and wait for a better setup. So let's say you get here and then you stop out right there. Okay, you took a small loss, right? And you're waiting. Now you're getting this scenario. So what you're saying, okay, now the green scenario is off the table, at least for now. Now I'm just looking at these two scenarios. What do I want to see for these two scenarios to play out? Well, if you're looking for the short, you might have wanted to enter here, right? And then once you get to here, you expect a pullback. And if you get a pullback that's higher than this, then this scenario is off the table. Let's look at what happened. We get the pullback. Okay, and we're getting that push lower. So once we get to, let me go back a little bit. Once we get to here, you want to see follow through. So you don't want this to revert back up. Why? Because this is the short setup that we talked about. That scenario we played out. If we're not getting that, then that scenario red is off the table, and all you're left with is scenario yellow. And right now, let me just replay it. We got scenario yellow, right? So scenario yellow, now you want to game plan, okay, what is the next trade? That's what I'm saying is once before you enter the trade, you have different things you want to see. You have different things you want the price to do. And based on what it does, you decide what you're going to take. Of course, by the way you're talking, game show, you know how to trade. I'm just saying, keep that in mind when you're entering the trade. Have multiple scenarios in mind from what might happen. And here we have the yellow scenario. Let me just zoom back out. Let me undo. Okay. So now, honestly, based on the scenarios we talked about, we're in the middle of the range right now on Bitcoin. For me, at least, there's nothing to do, right? Because the yellow scenario is the one I don't want to trade. I either want to trade the green one that we talked about before or the bearish one. So right now on Bitcoin, there's nothing to do. And if we go back to the indices, these are the scenarios we want to talk about. So we're about 6 minutes from the hourly. So far, fortunately, our trade is working. So remember, I talked about this area being my area of interest. So we'll see if we can get our take profit here. Once we get that take profit here, there's no point in risking those lows anymore. Our trade goes to break even, and then we wait for the second part of the trade, which I call the bonus. So this I call the payroll, which is you're going to get paid for your trade, you're going to get paid for your work, and then the rest is just a bonus. And then the other thing is, if it gets to 90% of that profit, it's okay if you just move it down a little bit to have it take your profit, because we're about to close and we want to see what happens. Let's take a quick look at the Nasdaq. Did I get my Nasdaq out? I got my Nasdaq out of the way. Oh, my Nasdaq is there. Never mind. All right, so we're looking good so far on the Nasdaq. Trade is working nicely. We're actually 105 points in profit. This is pretty nice. So let's see what we get on the Qs, the Nasdaq. About 5 minutes from the hourly close. Let's see what we get. And at this point in time, you don't need to be risking those lows anymore. You can if you want to, but at this point, right, if you get a pullback, and if you're still long biased, right, that pullback, say we go and take that profit, or say we pull back from here, from right now, right, that pullback that you're getting needs to remain inside of this range. It needs to stay above this area, right? So you pull back and then you can continue and form higher lows and lower highs if you're bullish. If you're getting anything that is not moving in that way or fashion, it doesn't mean it won't go back up, because we might go oscillate way down here and up here. But my logic is, why turn a green trade into a red trade, right? That is not something I'm usually looking to do. And the other thing you want to observe is, look at how now the buyers have really stepped in and have gotten control, because we've completely engulfed all these previous candles. So we'll see after the hourly close what happens, and decide what to do there. So far, we're recovering nicely. Let's see what we do. It looks like we might get this take profit on screen, on stream, sorry. And I really like this recovery. This is the recovery I was looking for over here. It was a little bit too early, but that's fine. We kept our risk and our losses under control. And now, as the hourlies come into play, it's possible that we see kind of a push lower. We're gonna see some profit taking, and we'll see what happens there. We got 3 minutes left on the stream, guys. We're almost into our target area here for the Nasdaq. Let's take a quick look at the ES. Almost there on the ES as well. So we are in the red area here where we want to take our profits. Do we wait for it to get there or not? I like to wait. I like to be patient, especially we have 2 contracts on this one. So let's see if we can get it. So definitely the areas of interest we talked about came into play. We had this first circle here where we were looking for a break, a retest, and a push lower. That came into play. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to take that short. We did take it on the Nasdaq though. Then we were looking for a break out of this little sideways consolidation here. Sorry. We were looking for a break out of this, a pullback, and a continuation. We scaled into the break and then added once we had the follow through. And now we're looking for a possible continuation all the way up to these highs if we're truly recovering on the day. Let's look at a daily chart to see what this looks like. So like I said earlier today, let me just get yeah, we're trying to break out of this range. So let's see if we get that today, or if it happens tomorrow. The great thing about the Fivers and Black Arrow is, unlike a lot of other prop firms, you can hold your trade overnight. So I could hold this trade, if it continues to work, all the way until tomorrow afternoon. So we'll see, depending on how the behavior of the price continues, whether or not we'll hold or not. But so far, so good. We are recovering nicely. We're recovering both on the indexes and on our account. So far, so good. We haven't gotten that profit yet, but we'll wait patiently and see if we can get it once that hourly candle opens. All right, we got the 11 o'clock candle here. All right, our first take profit is in, and we just heard the NASDAQ as well. NASDAQ take profit has happened. So awesome. We got 100 and something points on the NASDAQ, and we got almost 20 points on the ES for the first contract. So at this point in time, we could totally risk those lows instead of risking all the way down here to kind of manage our risk. We'll see after the pullback what kind of pullback we get, and then manage the trade. Now, if we get a clean pullback, something kind of like this, and then we find support over here, we might even add to the trade again, and we will probably go and target those prior highs and that liquidity area up there as well. So we'll see if we get that later today. Unfortunately, it won't be on stream. I'm going to let that trade cook. Thank you for everybody who was live today. It was fun to, get those losses, but then recover them right here with you live. I wish you a great rest of your a great rest of your week and a great rest this weekend. All right. I hope you're green, and if you're not green and you were red, I always say you either win or you learn. And I will see you next week. Thank you very much, guys. Take care. Thank you, Game Show. Thank you for everybody else. Thank you, Guru, for staying here. And I'll see you soon, guys. Take care.